Hello, friends, and welcome to Dhruva News. So, today we are going to be talking about some very famous but eccentric pop stars and rock stars. Pop stars and rock stars, they have a reputation of being a little over the top, and especially when they're from the West. Let's start. And Mary, do you want to start? Do you want to talk about any one of them?
Yeah, sure. I would like to talk about Paul McCartney. The Beatles, as everyone knows, very famous band, and he's a famous figure. And his relation with what do you say, Princess Diana was quite talked about. And the most eccentric theory I liked about him was, they say that Paul is dead. There is a song made on him, like the Strawberry Fields, which they say that, I buried Paul. That line is there, and the people had all these wild theories about him, that he's dead and this is a doppelganger, or this is someone like an imposter, like instead of him in the band after that. And all that is like baseless, because I did so much of research on it. Like when I was a content writer, I had written an article on him also. So this is all like theories. And the most common thing about these rock and roll figures is, they have this rebel nature, and all of their childhood is related with, the religious upbringing. So they kind of rebel against the religious upbringing, and they always related to the Satan Church, or you can say the Church of Satan. Aleister Crowley, he's quite famous with all of these figures, and that's what I would say. Like mostly they are like the rebellious goth kind of figures that, people have all these theories about them. So what would you say, Srishti?
It's good that you mentioned Beatles. Beatles, I think, is very well known for their Beatlemania. But sadly, when they were popular, it was way before I was born. So I didn't have the good fortune of ever attending a concert or living in the time when Beatlemania was so popular. But I really love John Lennon. He's no more alive, but I think the only John Beatles song, I'm not really too fond of them, but one song that John Lennon had sung, written, and composed was "Imagine." So I really love that song, and because of that, I really like John Lennon. There are a few things about John Lennon which are very controversial. The biggest fact that he was actually murdered, rather shot by one of his biggest fans, and he wasn't that old. He was, I think, 39, 40 year old at that time. So he was a rather eccentric fellow, and it is believed that him and his wife, they had hired a psychic on their cadre of servants, not servants, cadre of people who used to assist them. So there was a lawyer, there was an accountant, and there was a psychic. And the psychic used to be paid at par with the accountant and the other important people in the cadre, because John Lennon and his wife were so intrigued by the occult powers and the occult sciences that they had to consult a psychic before entering into any kind of a contract or any kind of event. So that was pretty popular for him, that he used to have a psychic with him 24/7. And another very interesting fact about John Lennon was that his relationship with his wife Yoko was very popular. Like they were madly in love with each other right till the end, right till he died. But when they started courting or when they started dating, John Lennon actually asked his fiance and his would be wife to make a list of all the people she had actually slept with. And that kind of a thing coming from somebody who is a pop star and who's supposed to be very progressive and very modern, this kind of a concept was a little vague. But since they were madly and deeply in love with each other, so I think the girl didn't really mind. But it was a little off at that time to hear about a guy asking the girl to make a list of all the people she'd been with. So these are two facts that about John Lennon, which I thought were very, out there. So apart from that, he was a great singer. He was a great social activist, for that matter. And somewhere he was very proudy also because of the kind of position that Beatles enjoyed, and that particularly became the reason for his death, because he made the mistake. I won't say mistake, but he actually went out to compare the fame of Beatles with Jesus Christ, and that really offended a lot of people, and because of that, he was actually shot by one person. So that was about John Lennon. So, any other pop star you would like to discuss with us, Mary?
Like I said, as he compared, like he compared with Jesus Christ. That's why he was always on loggerheads with Paul as well. They were never see eye to eye, even though they were in the same band. And there is another one like Marlon Manson. He's in news these days for his sexual allegations and by all these various women coming out for Me Too movement on him. And it's first it was, I guess, the actor and the Hollywood industry. Then it came to the fashion industry, and now it's come to the music industry. So all these women are speaking up against him about sexual harassment, about him subjugating them into stripping and dominating them, and all those various kind of things. But that is the life of a rock and roll star. That's what I feel. They have all these LSD, and they're always high on drugs, and it's like a part of their life which is kind of hidden from the public, but then some or the other day it just comes out bright light, like in the public. So now he's been dropped from all the music contracts and everything, and that is obviously it happens once these allegations they come out. What do you think? Even in the past, like, are there any these rock and roll personalities that who were involved in all these kind of allegations? Like, I think Michael Jackson, he is another one. Lot of controversies.
Yeah, Michael Jackson has been engulfed in a lot of controversies while he was alive and posthumously as well. But what I feel is that these pop stars have to maintain a certain kind of an intrigue and a certain kind of a persona to match the kind of profession they are in. I don't particularly believe that all of them come from tormented families and plummeted religious beliefs and very vague and cratered perspectives and mindsets. But that is definitely the kind of image that they portray. I think that's why people love them also. About Michael Jackson, I mean, right from his skin color to his eating habits, to his sleeping habits, to his home, everything was a matter of, a lot of.
Scrutiny.
But like something which is a little less known about him is that he was actually a very big Spider-Man fan. So when Marvel Comics were on the brink of declaring their bankruptcy in the 90s, he actually made a very, very compelling case to buy them out so that he could be the next Spider-Man. But that couldn't really work, and he never could play that part. But he was so, so, so fond of Spider-Man, and he really did not leave any stone unturned to, play that part. So apart from that, while filming Coca-Cola advertisement in 80s, I think his hair caught fire. And because of that, since his hair caught fire and he had those second degree and third degree burns on his scalp and his skin, and because of that, he had to get a lot of surgeries done as well. And even got his hairline tattooed on his scalp. So that was probably the start of him turning into somebody which he was not. So I think it all started with an accident and not because of his color and his complex as such. And these are the two facts about him. And it is very well known that he was somebody who very clearly converted from a black man to a white person. But when he was black, he was actually the first black man who was aired on MTV, and he and even went on to win big awards like Billboard Awards for his song Billie Jeans. So he was a newsmaker and he was a pioneer in many ways. He was married to Elvis Presley's daughter for a little while, though. Even Elvis Presley, for that matter, was his life and death was also engulfed in a lot of controversies. And Elvis Presley is known to be the king of rock and roll. Like he was the one who really started that whole trend in North America of rock and roll, and all his songs Like even after, like, he's been dead for so many years, but even today his songs are so popular amongst people. So even Elvis Presley was somebody who was very eccentric. All his life, he used to talk about a twin brother that he had. He used to allude to this twin brother in so many interviews and so many conversations. But later on, like after he died, and even when he was alive, people got to know that he was an only child. His parents never had another child, and his twin brother was just a figment of his imagination. But he's very strongly believed that I have a twin brother. So that was one fact about him. And another fact about Elvis Presley is that it's actually a good one. So by the age of 22, he was financially strong enough to buy a big mansion, which is called Graceland. I think it's still open to public now as a museum. So he had a jungle room in there with waterfalls and wild animals. And so he was, eccentric, but I think that's a good thing that he, was, successful enough to do it. And he died at a very young age of, like, I think he was 42 years old. And by that time, he had actually achieved a lot many things. So good things about Elvis Presley, I would say.
Yeah, but
Anything else?
he's connected with John Lennon as well, because John Lennon was a big fan of Elvis Presley. But when he met him, like, it got all washed out from his head. Like, he wasn't impressed at all. That is what I know about John Lennon and Elvis Presley. And regarding Michael Jackson, he was the one who bought the rights of the music of the Beatles, because he was a big fan of the Beatles as well. Like the way you said, for the Marvel comic, he bought the rights the same way he'd done it for the Beatles. So there's a lot of similarity between all of these pop stars or rock and roll stars, you can say.
So I think that was it from our side about the pop stars. And if any of our viewers has anything else to say about any other pop star, they can comment or send a DM to us, and we can share it in the next IGTV. What do you say?
Yeah, sure. Just like, share, subscribe, and comment to Dhruva News for more such interesting chats and talks. And we would like to know your comments as well. So please do that in the comment section. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Mary.
Okay, bye, Sissy.